Hello and welcome to a new show that we're going to do, which is called The Look Ahead. What we're going to do is we're going to look at the transfer window, which is opening in a couple of days' time. Whether or not Newcastle will be busy or not, who knows, because Eddie Howe is keeping his cards very close to his chest, which he seems to be doing with a lot of things these days. We're then obviously going to look at Eddie Howe, and we've got a man who knows him quite well. No, not Ez. And then we are going to look at the Leeds game tomorrow. Obviously, what we'll do is we're going to have Mark McAdam, who's from Sky Sports. You'll probably see him quite a lot on the TV, not just because he does quite a lot with Bournemouth and that, but he's normally on quite a lot of the transfer shows as well. So we'll have a chat with him with regards to that, and then obviously we'll let him go and we'll look towards the Leeds game tomorrow, which hopefully will be a good end to the year. So it might get confusing for you, because whether or not you have noticed, we've got a hat trick of marks. But you know, we'll try and do it. I'll go by the name of producer Mark just to make things a little bit easier. So to make it easier, what I'll do is I'll go Mark McAdam just so we know exactly who we're talking to. So obviously, Mark McAdam, you've worked for Sky for quite a few years now. You're heavily involved in the transfer window. Do you have to start your work early in terms of preparing for the transfer window and preparing for the shows and making sure you're getting all the details right?
Yes, obviously the transfer window opens on New Year's Eve. So December the 31st at midnight, when everyone is celebrating 2023, we're all celebrating at Sky Sports the opening of the transfer window. And you've seen already in the last week or so, things have started to gather pace. Clubs have been active, things have been going on. And because we've had that 5 or 6 week break for the World Cup, it's meant that clubs have been able to focus their attention, start to put their plans in place. So instead of hitting sort of January the 1st, having played 4 or 5 games over Christmas and then looking at trying to get deals done, they've already been able to line things up. You've seen Chelsea, Liverpool with Cody Gakpo, and Arsenal looking to do business in this January transfer window. And that was the same for us. I got called in, I think, on the 28th of December because there were so many transfers happening. And we needed someone to be in the studio and just be across everything because there was so much developing, and it was literally developing hour by hour as well. So, yeah, ahead of the transfer window, I just spend my life watching as much European football as I can, looking at as many stats as I can, looking at all the rumours, looking at the players that might be moving, speaking to agents, chairman, chief execs, players, and just trying to put as much information into my tiny little brain as I can, because I know that at one stage over the course of the 4 weeks or so, it will be useful. So yeah, it's always busy in the build up to the transfer window, but it certainly feels a little bit busier at the moment ahead of this January 2023 one.
Yeah, and obviously Newcastle are one of the clubs that had done their business early, and why probably quite a lot of Newcastle fans were watching Australia in the World Cup because of our new signing. Probably won't feature and probably go out along, but Garan Kual will be joining in January, so that's going to be an exciting one. He looks like a real prospect from what you're watching, what you see. So it is exciting on that one. Whether or not we can get, I'd love to see him in the first team, because we've got cup competitions. We need to. This is a problem. We're in the quarterfinal of a cup. We're third in the league. Yeah, the FA Cup. Yeah, we're looking at. Yeah, we're going to need to use the squad. Alex, I don't think Newcastle will probably do that much because I think you don't want to unsettle the squad in that sense. Who do you think, Mark McAdam, will be the busiest club this week?
Yeah, it's difficult to know who will be busy. I think Chelsea will definitely be busy because, new ownership, they want to build a young squad. They want to invest early on so that they don't have to keep investing hundreds of millions of pounds every summer. If they do a big chunk at the beginning, then hopefully that will see them through for a number of windows and years, and they just need to top up. I think Arsenal will certainly back Mikel Arteta, the position they're in the Premier League at the moment. They were looking for a striker at some stages during the course of the summer and couldn't get the person they wanted in. They were looking for a wide winger as well. Obviously, with Gabriel Jesus' injury, that kind of affects them a little bit, and they'll be looking at this opportunity thinking, well, how many times do we get into this position in January where we've got this little cushion between us and second? So they'll be active, I think, if they can get the right person, the right player over the line. I think the teams in and around the bottom will be kind of fairly busy. We know that Bournemouth have got new owners; they'll be wanting to strengthen and improve. Wolves will certainly give Lopetegui some tools. I could see them doing 4 or 5 or 6 new faces. They're desperate for players that can score goal because their record in the first half of the season hasn't been great. I think West Ham did a lot of their business early on. And, you know, obviously Newcastle is the one that you're all interested in. And I'm intrigued as to what they do as well. And like you rightly touched upon, I don't think this will be a fairly active window. But there may be 1 or 2 surprises, you know, along the way. And I think the key thing for January is what players are out there that can genuinely make your 11 better. And if you can't find those players out there because we know that prices are inflated, then it's really not worth disrupting things too much.
See, I think it's what Newcastle might do and then look at. And I think if we look at Yuri Tillemans is probably a good example of that. Players who are coming towards the end of the contract. So you're looking at that and going, they're coming towards the end of the contract. Are they really good? Are they going to sign another one? Yeah, I think there's been prices quoted of about 20 million. See, I think that would be a bargain for him, and he's probably a player that would do really well. You imagine him adding into the midfield that we've got with the Joe Willock and Bruno. Yeah, you're just stepping it up to the next level. We'll not go into the James Maddison because that would just unreal. But you're just thinking, just adding a couple of bits of quality, which I think we'll probably need. I think with Eddie Howe, if we look at where we were in the summer, I think his mind's probably changed. Because I think in the summer, I think everyone was looking at a right winger. But then Almiron has had probably the transformation of transformations, probably up there with Joe Linton. And you're now looking going, well, actually, we don't really need to worry about the right wing because he's, outstanding. Jacob Murphy's improved. So, you're looking at that and you're going, well, actually, we're probably okay there. Yeah, you're looking at that. I think there's a lot of stories about Harrison Ashby, the young lad at West Ham, getting him, because obviously I don't think he's going to be signing a new contract either. And obviously, Trippier's not getting any younger, but he's still probably having the form of his career at the minute. He's like unreal. So I think probably if I would say maybe 2 players we'll look at, and I think midfield, maybe I'd love a left winger. But I think a midfield is probably one that we need, especially when you look at the fact that Joe Linton's now playing on the left wing. And Shelby's now got the injury where he's out for 8 weeks, and you just look and going, he's had 2 injuries and he's missed quite a chunk of the season. He's going to miss quite a chunk again. We'll probably need a midfielder in. But we're looking at that. What we'll do is we'll move away from the transfer window just because, we don't want to start getting into the fantasy land of who we're going to sign and where we're going to be. Can
I pose a question to you 3? Can I pose a question?
Yeah.
It's a one-word answer, really, I guess. Would you sign players in this January transfer window, or would you leave the group exactly as it is, as it has been so successful over the course of this season, well, the whole of 2022? Would you disrupt it, or would you just want to keep it as it is?
I wouldn't want to disrupt it.
So you're no signings, Mark, producer.
Well, no, there's a difference. I think we need a midfielder. So I think that's the problem with him. I think we need a midfielder, but I don't think so. Maybe 1 or 2. So it's like you bring in but not. I don't think like a big chunk like other teams might be doing. Because I just think you'd unsettle the squad too much. But the big thing which Eddie Howe does all the time is he will look into not just how they play, but their attitude and the pursuit and stuff like that, because you're not going to bring someone into the squad that's going to unsettle it. Because like I said, there's a togetherness, and it's from the players, the staff, the owners, the fans. I don't think I've ever seen Newcastle United truly united as it is now. It's like everyone's just pulling in the same place, and it's fantastic. It's like I said, I don't want to see too much, unsettle them, because like I said, if you go and sign 3, 4, 5 players, you're then changing the squad. But I think 1, maybe 2, just to give us a little bit more strength. But I think that's it. Yeah, you don't want to rock the boat, especially like how we've been.
Yeah. Okay. So it's 1 or 2 for you, producer Mark. Ez?
That was the longest answer, one-word answer, by the way, I've ever witnessed, producer Mark. I'm just going to say yes. I'm just going to say yes. Build from a position of strength. Yes.
Yeah. And Mark Reynolds?
Yeah, I would sign a few players at least. Pretty similar answer to Mark, basically. Because I think you have to, as put it perfectly, you want to sign players when you're in a position of strength. And Newcastle have never been in this position for, I don't know, possibly coming up to 20 years, really, since we've really been in this kind of position of power. So if you're not going to sign them now, when? And I've got faith in Eddie Howe and the team that they've assembled at the top levels of the club to identify the right players with the right attitude, and also for Eddie Howe to manage those signings when they come in. We've already got some evidence of that, especially, I mean, the example every Newcastle fan will bring up is Bruno and how he managed his transition into the team. So I've got no qualms about him being able to manage that and not letting it disrupt the squad.
You look at Sven Botman as well. He manages those players as well. But you also look and you're thinking of the transfer window, how we got Bruno. I think Newcastle fans are still scratching their heads of going, how is there no one else in for him? Yeah. And then Sven Botman, you look at that and you're going, how is it only us in AC Milan? Because you look at him now and you're going, he's only 22 and he is phenomenal. Yeah, when you're watching him. Yeah. And he's like Nick Pope, 10 million. Yeah. You look at him now and you're going, yeah, okay, right, we did need a keeper. So you're looking at those things, but you're also looking at, like, we've got Dan Burn, which I was probably underwhelmed at the time when we were signing him, because going, well, yeah, I don't really know much of him. But then you look at it, yeah. So I back, because I think every single player that we've signed, you look at and you're going, yeah, we've signed that, yeah. Like Matt Target, again, a player that you'd probably look at and go, yeah, really. But no, yeah, so I'm more than happy, and like I said, I'll trust the board. Like I said, Dan Ashworth, yeah, when you're looking at Brighton, yeah, they've got a World Cup winner in McAllister in there. You've got Casino, you've got, yeah, Trossard, yeah, the players that Brighton have brought in, and from him, yeah. So I honestly trust Dan Ashworth. I think he's gonna do really well for us, and I think we've worked really well to get a good structure in place. And even when you look at the fact that we've got Steve Nixon, our chief scout, yeah, on there, we're looking at really good players in that. So I'm trusting, but like I said, one or two to not really unsettle the squad, because like I said, I think that the team spirit in there is just like unreal. You've just got to love each and every one of them. But yeah, what we'll do is just moving on to probably a man who right now I would say has got to be manager of the season, but we'll still go there. I think probably if we look at like what he's done in 2022, he's got to be manager of 2022, because his form from like the end of last season and then the start of this season is just unreal. Yeah. And obviously we've got one of the Marks who's like who has known him, who has worked with him obviously when he was at Bournemouth. And some people might not know this, but you also worked with him in Bournemouth as well. Are you surprised at what he's done at Newcastle?
Not at all. No, honestly, everyone says the same thing. And I'm super lucky and blessed to have been a part of his very early coaching career. Just for those that don't know, I worked at Bournemouth between 2000 and 2006 in the media department. I then left and started working in the media full time, but still worked with the club, went back on a match day, still worked in various capacities to help the club. And one of those was working as a scout. And I worked for Kevin Bond, who was the previous Bournemouth manager, to Eddie. There was Jimmy Quinn in the middle, and then Eddie got appointed. And when Eddie got appointed, I'd had that relationship with him, having watched him as a player, having seen him leave for Portsmouth and then come back again. And when he got the job, it was all very sudden, and he didn't have a backroom team. He didn't have huge amounts of people to work behind the scenes. This was Bournemouth in League Two, struggling for money. So, the manager was also the kit man and the assistant manager and the first team coach, and, did the laundry. It was, everyone chipped in together. So I worked for Eddie for 6 months free of charge because the club couldn't afford to pay me. In fact, the money that they should have paid me for my petrol, I didn't even get because they went into administration. So I did that for a long time. But yeah, so I worked very closely with him at the beginning, and obviously you could see from the very early days the basics, the passion, the hard working nature he had, the diligence, the desire to achieve, and this was for his club, Bournemouth. A club that he'd been associated with. He'd come through the youth team. He played for the club, captained the club at Wembley, the old Wembley, and he just wanted to do the very best. And all the things that he was doing back then, coaching players, improving people around him, getting in at 6 a.m., leaving at 7 p.m., 6 days a week, giving everything he possibly could to the football club. He's emulating for Newcastle. It's exactly the same Eddie Howe, very different level, but he's giving everything to that football club, and he's doing it in the way that he thinks is right. Attractive football, good characters, good personalities, togetherness, hard work. And all of those things have been a real recipe for success at the club. And I think if any football club now will be looking at Newcastle as the model. New owners go in, how have they done it? And, Eddie Howe is clearly a huge part of that. It doesn't surprise me. This is what he does. He took a team from second bottom of League Two to the Premier League, kept them there for 5 years. And in one of those seasons, they finished 9th. This would be like someone going into Rochdale right now, taking Rochdale through the pyramid, keeping them in the Premier League for 5 years. And, that's what Eddie did with Bournemouth. I'm so delighted for him, for Jason Tindall, Stephen Purchase, Graham Jones, and, Simon Weatherston, Dan Hodges. I'll forget someone at some stage, but the whole team that are working with that group of players are doing an incredible job. And that's because it's a real team effort. And you keep saying it on the show, Newcastle United and Eddie's backroom team and Eddie's group is very much united at the moment.
I don't know whether or not but Jason Tindall has managed to get a nickname up here as Mad Dog Tindall. Do you think that suits him?
Do you know what? It's funny actually, because again, Jason was at Bournemouth for many years. When I first joined back in 2000, he joined from Charlton. So again, I've known him for the entire time that I've worked in football, from the age of 16 right through. So it's well in excess of 20 years. And Jason was he was always the silent one, but you could see the passion and the desire. He was always the laid back one. So to see the sort of transition of him being a little bit more aggressive and a little bit more, it's quite interesting. But he always had that fieriness in him, and that passion and desire to be successful and to do well and to achieve things. So there's a nice balance as well, because it's not very often you see Eddie lose his rag or get animated in a negative way. He enjoys the highs and the goals and the celebrations, but he's always quite focused and sure of what he's saying when he's in those kind of heated moments. But yeah, Jason's a great character again, and someone that is a huge part of Eddie's success, both at Bournemouth and obviously at Newcastle.
Now we know what we're known for now, and it's every fan that as soon as Newcastle win a game, we're straight on the Twitter feed because we want that team photo. We know that comes from Eddie Howe's training ground of the winning team gets the team photo. Is that something that stems back to the Bournemouth days as well? Yes,
they used to do something very similar actually. After a home game, they used to do a huddle on the pitch. The whole group, the coaching staff, the players, the substitutes, everyone would go onto the pitch after every game, win, lose or draw, and do a big huddle. And that would obviously be an opportunity for a player, for Eddie, for one of the other members of staff to do the team, do the team talk, do the chat, do the inspirational speech. That was something that became synonymous after Bournemouth games. The fans would stay to watch that huddle. And then after the huddle, that's when they do their clapping and cheering and whatnot after the game. So I'm not surprised that he's kind of got something a bit different at Newcastle, but it's in the same ethos of, the togetherness, the spirit, enjoy the moments, enjoy the wins, enjoy the victories, because that's what football's about. What you could come off the pitch having won a game and go into the dressing room, sit there and, oh, well done. No, enjoy this moment, suck it in and enjoy it, because that's what football's all about. And you can see that togetherness and that spirit and that kind of desire, right, we need to win today, we need another photo for Twitter, we need another picture on the wall, is creating this incredible mixing pot of belief and confidence, and just giving Newcastle a little bit of something different to what everyone else does. And I think it's brilliant to see. I love seeing it. And those people that say, guys, they've only won one game, it's only 3 points. Yeah, but 3 points in the Premier League are precious. And if you're in this journey that Newcastle are currently on, you should be soaking up and enjoying every moment, because you ask Man United fans who haven't got close to a Premier League title really for a number of years, would they take this situation? Would they want to see that togetherness for their group and their squad? Of course they would. And I think teams will be envious of what's going on at Newcastle at the moment.
Obviously, I'm a little bit cautious and conscious on the time for yourself there. So what I'll do is I'll thank you for coming along. Wish you well on the January transfer window, and hopefully the weather's not too bad for you if you haven't to stand out in the cold doing all your broadcasting there. But fingers crossed we can get you can get yourself into the studio a little bit more, and have a great new year, Mo.
No, fantastic, guys. I'll come on as much as you need me to over the course of January. It'd be really interesting to see how Newcastle attack the window. I'm intrigued. I know obviously they'll be working incredibly hard behind the scenes, and they'll be looking at all the options and the players that could improve the group. I think as we know, and as Eddie has mentioned, FFP plays a big part in what Newcastle can do. And the fact that the group's so strong and united, you'd be conscious about disrupting that and putting in a new player that perhaps just doesn't fit into it. You need to keep the wages all very much the same, because you don't want to upset the balance there as well. Suddenly someone comes in with big wages, and then everyone else turns around and says, well, hang on a second, I want big wages as well. So it's a real delicate kind of balance between doing the right thing and trying to keep that togetherness. So I'll be watching with interest what Newcastle do and how they do it. And it's one of those situations right now, even if they finish 7th, it would still be the most incredible season and a real platform to build upon, because this group's only going to get better, and that's why Newcastle's so exciting.
Well, that's great. And like I said, thank you for your time. Enjoy your new year, and you never know, you might get an invite up to the big market at some point from Eddie.
Definitely. Oh no, there's 2023. One of my resolutions is to get up to a Newcastle game. So I'm hoping that Soccer Saturday send me somewhere north on the Saturday, and Newcastle at home on the Sunday, and then I can shift along and come and take in the atmosphere of St James's Park if I can get a ticket, because I think most games are sellouts these days.
I'm sure Eddie will be able to sort you one.
Cheers, guys.
Thanks
for joining us. Cheers.
Oh, there you go.
There we go. So the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Transfer Window, because you see him everywhere, and obviously, I've spoken to him before, and he knows Eddie Howe a lot, and he has so much time for him. It's like unreal. Yeah, most Newcastle fans will as well. So it's just unbelievable. Like I was watching the press conference today with Eddie Howe, and I'm still like, I was pinching myself. Like I had the biggest smile on my face, because I'm going, we've got Eddie Howe. Yeah, Oh, you just look and just going, but yeah, how we've got him here, it's just unreal, and I absolutely love it. And yeah, moving on to, like I said, with what we're going to do with the Leeds preview. If we avoid defeat, we will have only lost one Premier League game at St James's Park in 2022.
Is that in the Premier League, or is that just in the Cambridge? Okay. Yeah.
No, so the Premier League. No, I'm blanking the Cambridge game out. That's it. I've had that game didn't happen. Yeah, but that's just blanked out the memory. But no, in the Premier League, and if you look at it and you think, we've had Arsenal up at the ground, we've had
Man City,
we've had Chelsea. So you're looking at that. We've had some big teams up in that sense. At that time, obviously, I think Aston Villa had just had been taken over by Steven Gerrard, and they were doing well. Yeah, so had a good result there. Wolves again was always a good side. Yeah, when you look at, Brentford, when we beat them 5-1, and that was a result because you're looking at that and going, this is a good Brentford side. Yeah, they're a decent side.
Mhm.
Yeah, we beat Aston Villa 4-0. Yeah, we've went away to Spurs and beat them when they had a fantastic record. Yeah, so it's just unreal to think. But Leeds are going to be a tough team because they have got some skillful players in the squad. I hope quite a few of them could come down with that flu bug, but yeah. I think the other thing which I'm also going to look at, and it's probably been going around there, but there's a clip with Jesse March where he was asked the question of, is the difference of where Newcastle are all about money? And he seemed to, it was as if he was getting an excuse in already, like basically saying, yeah, it is about the spending, yeah. But then, the more valid point was, which is true, which is, it is about money in the European leagues. There isn't like the salary caps like there is in the US with the MLS and that. So it does do that. But, yeah, we haven't spent a massive amount. When you look at it, yeah, Liverpool have spent 80 million on Núñez. They've now spent probably about another 40 on that Gakpo and that. So, yeah, you look at that and you look at where we are. We are where we are in the league, not because of the money we've spent, but because of the hard work that's being put in by Eddie Howe.
Well, we're just catching up, aren't we, on money we didn't spend under Mike Ashley? So that money is is money that was never spent on the squad. Our squad was really depleted. So it's definitely set a false narrative going out and spending 200 million. Suddenly people are going, oh, you spent 200 million, yeah, but we didn't spend 200 million for the last 10 years. So we literally had like a Norwich City of a team until recently.
Doing over the 10 years, we've spent 20 million a season. Yeah,
exactly.
You're looking at it. So it is that, but like I said, it is a difficult side. Like you look at them, they've got that. I'm trying. Is it Brendan Harrison?
Aronson, yeah.
He's like a decent player. They've got.
I tell you, I'd never seen him play before, but I watched them obviously play City the other night, and I was impressed by the lad on the other flank as well. Noto, his name was.
I'll see if I can get the pronunciation names up there.
Yeah, but he was quite impressive, I thought, on the other flank. And this is all said, bearing in mind obviously that they didn't have an awful
Wilfred
lot of
Noto.
But yeah, I thought considering they obviously didn't have a lot of the ball and they didn't have an awful lot going, of attacking fluidity, he still managed to stand out a little bit for me, which is quite impressive, and I'd honestly not been paying any attention to him whatsoever. So they've got some talented players, and the other thing about Leeds is they'll give it a go. Whether they'll give it, I was about to say they'll give us a game. Who knows? Man City Man City are really the only team that have properly given us a game this season, and maybe Brighton. But
when you look at that and you look at Rodrigo, Brendan Aronson, the keeper's decent in Melier.
They've got Somerville, who's maybe back for this game, and just before the break,
he was on the bench for Wednesday. Jack Harrison was on the bench on Wednesday. So like I said, they've got some decent players, but then you look at us and you're going, I think the squad that we've got and the team that we've got is a match for anyone. Like I said, Nick Pope has got the most clean sheets in the Premier League. And you look at that and you're going, Edison,
Yeah, we have the meanest defence for sure. And I'm looking at Leeds' defence, especially away from home.
Yeah,
and they've only won one game away from home. Weirdly enough, it was at Anfield, which is a really strange stat. But they have only won one game. They concede a goal every 37 minutes away from home. They are the second worst performing team away from home, only in front of Nottingham Forest, who've lost every game. So there's definitely a mentality problem there when there's such a disparity between a team doing really badly away from home and doing okay at home. There seems to be a mentality issue, and given our form at home and Leeds' form away from home, I don't know, like 2 + 2 = 4 to me, guys. I don't know how you guys are
Well,
feeling.
yeah,
about
but
it.
you are looking at it and you are, saying we're unbeaten at home. I think we haven't conceded a goal in the last 5 games we've played at St James's Park. And if we look at home and away games, we haven't conceded 2 or more goals since the 31st of August when we went to Anfield.
And it's almost like it's not just the low number of goals that we're conceding. It's like Nick Pope barely has to make a save. Like we don't concede a whole load of chances, never mind goals. So
but when he
especially
does,
at home,
it's a good save.
And he's there. Yeah. I mean, the one thing he had to do really of any significance in the Leicester game was cutting that ball through that Daka tried to get on the end of. And my God, he was alert, So if you do get past the defence, good luck getting it past Nick Pope.
Well, it is. Yeah. If we're looking at the lineup, would you keep? And I know there's talk about Callum Wilson there, but would you keep the lineup the same? Because my mindset would be yes, and have Wilson on the bench, and if needed, bring him on. But let's try and keep him, for the Arsenal game, which I would say, is probably on there. Yeah, Chris Wood might also give the Leeds defence a little bit of trouble in that sense. Yeah, it's difficult to probably drop for me, and this is my feeling. I think it's difficult to drop anyone from the side, including Chris Wood, because I thought Chris Wood had one of his best performances against Leicester in what he did. But when you're going away and you're beating a side like Leicester 3-0 in that, can you really drop Eddie Boyd?
I think you can't argue with the performance and the results. So, and I believe, again, it's a bit reading between the lines, but obviously, because Eddie Howe doesn't give that much away in his press conferences, but watching his presser this morning and seeing what some of the reporters had to say about it, it sounds as though Wilson has only maybe been back in training fully for about a day coming off his illness. So, yeah, I would agree, Mark. I think you put him on the bench because obviously he's you want him in your squad if you can. But is there a desperation to bring him back? Probably not. And with the Arsenal game coming up in a couple of days, let's just concentrate on hopefully getting him fully fit, raring to go. And I mean, hopefully we don't even need to bring him on. Hopefully.
I know we're not looking ahead to the Arsenal game, but I was at the Arsenal game back end of last season, and Wilson was an absolute monster against them, as was St. Maximin, by the way. So I might even consider bringing him in as well for that Arsenal game. But I agree with you guys. I think keep the team as it is. If we need Wilson, we can bring him on 60, 70 minutes. But I don't even think we'll need him, to be honest with you, given the current form.
Well, you look at it and you think that side's a good enough side, but then on the bench you've got the likes of Callum Wilson and St. Maximin who you can bring off to try and do something. And I think that's the issue. If you can bring on St. Maximin in like maybe the 70 or 75th minute, when these are probably tiring, you've got someone else because he's just someone who can tear the defence apart. Like I said, I think a lot of us against Leicester were going, just bring ESM on now and that, just because he's just going to do that bit. And then you've sort of like the Leicester, and the Leeds players will probably be the same there, but hang on, we need to look after ESM. So you're sort of putting a distraction on with ESM because you've got those players who will be focusing on keeping him quiet, which then could maybe free up. Like I said, I think it's probably going to be not an easy game. It's our derby because these are the closest side to us in the Premier League. We're all up here on we're all in the north. No one around us. But it is going to be a tough game. As we know, I don't do predictions. I never have, so I'm not going to. Whilst we've got the record we have, I'm not going to change that. So we'll go with Ez. What's your prediction for the game?
I actually think this game will be a stroll in the park. Leeds United played 2 days ago. No, they played yesterday. No, 2 days ago. They played 2 days ago. After the match, Jesse Marsh in his post-match interview said they were tiring. They couldn't keep up. They couldn't claw a comeback because they were tiring. St. James's Park is the worst place to come, especially if Newcastle had 2 more days rest than you, and you were tiring in your last game. You do not want to be coming over to St. James's Park with the intensity of the crowd, the intensity of the players. I think it's going to be 4-0. I think it's going to be quite a stroll in the park for us. And I say this as one of the most cynical fans. Like everyone around me is like, "What is wrong with you?" But I think we'll win this one 4-0.
Question from Mark. Do you think you're going to have a bad feeling about this game as you did on Monday? Because if you do, then I'm going to be happy.
I'll have to try and get one. Yeah, for anyone who doesn't know, some messages flying around on Boxing Day, and I sort of had a bad feeling before the game against Leicester, and posted it in our chat, and then lo and behold, we're 2-0 up within 7 minutes. So I think what it was the bad feeling was an ensuing illness, because I've spent the last few days since then being ill, and I'm only just feeling better now. So I don't know. Hopefully I'll get a similar feeling again, and we'll just absolutely trounce them.
Just put it in the group book anyway, and then
I'll just put it in for good luck. But I think Ez is right to bring up the fact that they played how many
Wednesday, yeah,
Wednesday. Days are all a blur at this point, but
it would have been 90+ minutes in that, and against a Man City side where you've got to work hard.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's not just the fact that we've had more time to rest. It's who they've played, how tired that game will have made them, and then they've got to come and play us, who we're going to work them hard, even if we have an absolute stinker, which I don't think we will. One thing about this Newcastle team is they're going to work the opposition bloody hard. So. Yeah. Everything seems to be, in our favour for this. If I was a Leeds fan, I'd be absolutely fuming with the Premier League regarding the schedule for this.
Yeah,
it's inexcusable. But fine. I'm not complaining.
I'd probably blame Prime for the schedule of putting the game where it was on that sense, because like I said, you look at it and you're going. I think the other thing which it probably helps us as well. Is the game was sewed up after 30 minutes when we went 3-0 up. So, realistically, the players were just like, right, we'll just go through the motions. Yeah, we'll try and keep it tight in that. Yeah. So there wasn't like that massive exertion. We could make the substitutions to rest players in that. So I think that's, like I said, a big thing as well.
The second half of that game was boring in the best way possible.
Yeah, it was second gear, wasn't it? It was just second gear the whole way.
But you look at that and you're going, we'll beat Villa 4-0, but probably not. Yeah, we weren't at our best. We were okay, but we weren't at our best. We beat Brentford 5-1, and again, I don't think we're anywhere near our best.
Southampton away as well.
Exactly.
That game, I thought we just weren't at the races that day, and we came away 4-1 winners. Like what?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So there's times like even when we look at that, I'm hoping, like I said, to sign off the new year, 2022 in the best way possible, and to keep the stat that we've only lost once in the league in 2022, because that stat to be for Newcastle is like just massive. Unreal. Yeah, when you think of it. But we'll have our fingers crossed. I'll make sure that my superstitious routine is adhered
Please
to.
do, Mark. You must
follow it to the T.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I made sure I did. I did it for the cup game. Which we snuck through. Yeah, but I'm going to blame the referee more for that, because I think the offside goal was a goal, and I also think we should have had a penalty. But we'll leave that aside there. One thing, whether or not it does help, but the referee that we've got hasn't sent anyone off this season so far, and he was also the referee for the Nottingham Forest 2-0 win.
Right.
Interesting.
Right. So all signs are pointing to a win, guys.
So what I'm hearing is Joe Linton can smash a few lads in the face if things are getting difficult.
No, because we need Joe Linton. Yeah, maybe Sean Longstaff. Yeah.
Oh man.
But no, I actually think, and the other thing which also was pointed out by Alan Shearer on Match of the Day was, when you look at it, the two sides, like Miggy goes and helps Trippier out defensively, and Joe Linton does it with Dan Burn. Yeah. And just like the two wing sides, they've just got that chemistry and harmony together. And it's just unreal, like I said. So, yeah, I'm going to be my pessimistic elf and say it's going to be a tough game, and yeah, we'll see at the end of the day. We're not going to have the post-match reaction purely because it's New Year's Eve, and quite a lot of people will probably be
pissed.
Well, yeah. I was trying to find a nice way of saying that, but yeah, it will be that. Obviously, if the result does go right, then quite a few more will probably be even more inebriated than that. But we will probably be back. We may do you'll see when we post it. We haven't decided just yet. Like I said, it is the Christmas period. It is New Year. People are away. The people are with families, so it's difficult to do that. But what we'll do is we'll try and work it out there. But we will try and get it. If we don't get a preview or a reaction show for the Arsenal game, we will get one on Wednesday for the podcast, which we're going to move the podcast to the Wednesday because we're playing on the Tuesday. And I don't think anyone wants to watch this podcast if Newcastle are playing because, yeah, we'll be watching it as well there. So enjoy your new year. Fingers crossed for tomorrow. And we will see you in 2023. Thank you for watching.
Cheers, everybody.
Thank you. Cheers, guys.